welcome to SCORE's Thinking About Buying a Franchise. Jack's a great partner with SCORE and the Small Business Association. He offers many seminars throughout the years on franchising. Today, he's going to be taking us through service-based franchises, which will, I'm sure, be of interest. Jack is the president and owner of FranNet of New Jersey, as well as the owner of Sunbelt Business Brokers franchise of New Jersey. Both of them have been in existence for more than 20 years. FranNet specializes in the sale and resale of well-known franchise companies, and Sunbelt is the largest business facilitation firm in the country. We're lucky to have Jack here today, and I'm going to turn it over to him because he's who you wanted to see today. Jack, all yours.
Good afternoon, everybody, and thank you, Nancy. I am Jack Armstrong with FranNet. And as Nancy mentioned, I've been with FranNet for about 27 years and for Sunbelt about 25. I have an accounting degree, I have an MBA in finance from Pace. FranNet's been around for more than 35 years, and we're basically matchmakers. We are paid by the seller. The franchise companies all pay us approximately the same amount. In the business broker side, the selling of an existing business is like real estate. A big house, big business, big commission, small house, small business, small commission. People always ask, how do you make your money? You don't do it for free. No, we don't. We are paid by the seller at closing. Today, we're going to talk about why some people like being a business owner, an entrepreneur, and others don't. What are the pros and cons? We're going to look at the differences between buying an existing business versus buying a franchise. In existing business, you buy the owner's cash flow. And so the net cash flow, if you take the profit, the salary of the owner, any expenses, personal expenses they're running through the business, and if it's under $500,000 in net cash flow, the valuation's 3 times that number. So for example, if the owner is taking out $100,000 in salary, $100,000 in profit, and another $50,000 expenses they're running through the business, or they're taking out in their pocket about $250,000. Times 3, that will sell for about $750,000. If the cash flow becomes $500,000 to $1 million net to the owner, it's a multiple of 4. And that will continue to grow all the way up to the publicly traded companies. Today, we're dealing with the smallest. Publicly traded companies are the biggest. A franchise, especially in the service-based franchises, are generally under $100,000. But you're not going to take money out for 6 to 9 months. So one of your first questions when you start to think about this is, how soon do you need to see money? Do I need to get it right away? I have to buy an existing business, invest more? Or can I wait a while and put in a lot less money? We're going to talk about the myths that are out there in franchising. We're going to talk about the headaches, the rewards. Franchising is a regulated industry. It is regulated by the Federal Trade Commission. And every franchise has to prepare what's called a franchise disclosure document, known in the industry as the FDD. And in section 20 of this FDD is the name, address, and phone number of every franchisee who purchased. So part of your research is talking to the ones who have done well, those that have gone out of business, those who have sold. So part of your research is talking to the people who are doing it on an actual every day, those who sold it for whatever reason. What did they get for it? What kind of exit strategy is there? And why did some people fail and others did great? We're going to talk you through the process of how to do the search, how to do the research, how to find out what's the right one for you. And if you have questions as we're going through this, please put them in the chat box, the Q&A, as Nancy said, and I'll stop every so often and ask Nancy, are there any questions? And we'll go through it. We generally ask people, why now? Why are you thinking about becoming an entrepreneur? You might have had a successful career in corporate. You might have done other things, but why now do you want a business? What's changed? And we get a lot of different reasons. And we find that a lot of people want control. They feel like, especially after COVID, they may have worked from home. They like that flexibility. They want to continue that. They may have gone through some restructuring in the past. They don't want to do that anymore. Second biggest reason is financial security. And there are 3 parts to that. One is, how much can I make? What can I take out of this? Number 2 is, what can I sell this for? What's my exit strategy? And if we take a simple example, because of the aging population, we see senior care being very popular right now. In senior care, in the third year, you should be doing about $1 million in sales, probably taking out about $200,000 times the multiple of 3. Can I get 600,000 times the 200 times 200,000 times 3 is 600,000? Can I get that? And then they want to go back to the disclosure document and speak to the people who sold in the last year or two. What was the multiple? What was the trend? What do you felt out there? How was the market when you went to see it? The third part of financial security is time. You have certain franchises that can be done semi-absentee. This became about 35 years ago with hair care, Great Clips, Super Clips, Super Cuts too, different ones. Then we saw the massage industry with Hand and Stone and Massage Envy, and then all the boutique fitness ones. These are done semi-absentee, where you're managing the manager. So when people start to look at the financial side of this, the questions are, what can I make? What can I sell this business for in 5 to 10, 15 years? How much time do I have to put in? So again, they're looking for maybe greater flexibility, some independence. If you take franchising and you break it into the 6 basic areas, hotels are just too expensive for most people, start at $3 million and go up. Food, people are not going into right now because of the labor shortages, finding help, and the brutal competition. Automotive is not as popular because people are more and more concerned about the electric car not needing any kind of repairs and maintenance. So you're left with, in retail, people are very nervous about because of the Amazon, people buying more and more online. So what we're seeing right now where the big growth has been is in the service sector, either consumer service where you're dealing with the general public, or the business services where you're dealing with other small to medium-sized businesses. What we see today is people going after the service economy. It's 5 days a week, your weekends and evenings are free. It's a lot less money to get into it, and you have a quality of life. But as you start to think about why would you want your own business, you're coming back to the same question, well, what's in it for me? What do I want out of this? What do I want to see? How can this really help me? Is my life better by becoming an entrepreneur or going back and having a corporate job? So the different types of service-based business I just mentioned are consumer services is one, where you're dealing with the general public for your customer base, or business services where you're marketing and working with other small business owners or medium-sized businesses. Depends on what the service is you're providing. Generally, the investment's lower. It's under $100,000, and with financing, you're putting about $25,000 down and borrowing $75,000 over 10 years. In the service-based businesses, it's 5 days a week with limited evenings and very few weekends. You don't have supply chain issues. You're not buying things. It's recession resistant, a lot of them, and it's generally easier to find help when you're offering regular hours. You can pay more, easier to attract and find people. Easier to scale and build service-based businesses. They're built with additional marketing dollars and not additional locations. You're doing more with Google, LinkedIn, other services, your better websites, retargeting. So you can ramp these up a lot faster. You can start them out of the home or a small office location. You don't need to find the perfect retail location or the airport or the big mall where you're paying lots of money for rent. So that money's going into your pocket instead of paying a landlord. Digital marketing ranked on Google is much faster. You have the franchise that might have done 200 units, you're number 201, and they've taken each of these franchises number 1 in their position on Google. So they can start to generate leads right away. Your phone or your email will be going very quickly with the service-based ones, where if it's location-based, you have to wait for the traffic to build, got to make sure it's the right location. So people are more and more focused on service-based franchise. That's what we see going on today. It's usually very limited competition with larger territories. It's better profit margin without the high cost of rent or the cost of goods. Many of these service-based franchises can get into multiple revenue streams coming into it. Many have reoccurring revenue. Franchise companies set up national partnership with suppliers, especially on the marketing side when you're trying to generate traffic. How do we get more people in? How do we build quicker? What's our advantage over the local competition? This is all part of the research you're doing. When you start to dig into it and you talk to other franchisees in that system, you're going to be asking these questions. How do I do? Why did you do better? Why didn't I just do this myself? Where here are the benefits the franchise company brought me. Does that pertain to your market, your area? This is just part of your basic research when you're starting to look. Again, the people are concerned right now. The Federal Reserve is meeting again today. Or are they going to raise interest rates? Are they going to send us into a recession? How can I lower this risk for the business? What are the market characteristics I can see? What if the economy continues to chug along, maybe slower, but it's still going up? Or what if it turns and starts to head down? What can thrive in any kind of economic condition? What's driving the business? What am I looking for to make sure I don't make a mistake? So we first look at what are the demographics driving us right now. We know that the biggest market out there are the baby boomers, the senior care, residential care, all types of services aimed at the seniors are doing very well. We saw with COVID and the maturing of the millennials, home buying went through the roof. The real estate went through the roof. And when you see the difference between the baby boomers and the millennials, the baby boomers did a lot of fix it yourself, where the millennials tend to have someone doing the work, painting the house, painting the inside, the plumbing, the roofing, and all these franchises that are doing very good. Roto-Rooter, CertaPro painters, all doing very well. Cleaning franchises have done very well for quite a while now. Commercial cleaning is the office buildings. It's done at night. Residential cleanings is Monday to Friday, 8 to 4. Education has become bigger and bigger for the residential. You start out with the daycares, the Goddard, the Celebrity, the all different types of daycare franchises and early education. The tutoring ones, Huntington, Sylvan, Tutor Doctor. You get all the SAT preps. Again, the millennials are starting to have more and more children. Education is becoming a bigger factor there. We look at what's become recession resistant. People with hair still get them cut. Might not be quite as often as they did, but great clips, super cuts. It's a very steady Eddie type of business where the customers come in each month to get their haircut. Automotive, we deal with Maaco, Meineke, and other ones. Again, if your car breaks down, you got to get it fixed. The average car on the road today is 12 years old, and people are still getting them fixed. Insurance restoration or damage restoration. If you have a claim at your home for smoke, fire, water, mold, anything like that, you're going to call your insurance agent. You want to get the water, the basement's been flooded with backed up sewer lines, mold, tree falls on the house. You're calling that homeowner's insurance agent, whether it's Liberty, Allstate, State Farm, and they turn around and call ServPro, Paul Davis, PuroClean, all the different ones out there. They want the claim cleaned up as quickly as possible. So we look at these franchises as being recession resistant. We look at small businesses that are growing and thriving. What kind of help do they need? Sometimes they need expertise and coaching. How to reduce their expenses. Maybe they need to have a better sales training process. IT has become very big, especially with more and more small businesses working out of the home. Digital marketing, the growth of that has been taking off. It's huge. And those franchises are exploding right now. And a lot of them are working with people around the globe and how to help them grow, how to put together an international presence. So you're seeing businesses grow and develop, not just in the local market, but in the country and around the globe. So again, these are just suggestions that we're seeing doing demographics, recession resistance, what can thrive, what can really develop out there in any kind of economy. Some of the advantages of people buying Advantage, and anything you look at is a plus and a minus. The biggest advantage is people like the name recognition. You might not have heard of ServPro or Paul Davis or PuroClean, but I know anyone in the insurance, homeowners insurance, they know them, they call them every day. Generally, you want to see 100 units up and running, maybe 200. That's got a system. They've proven it 200 times that people up and doing well. You want to make sure you're training in the beginning, support. How do they help your employees? How do they train your employees? How do you handle the marketing? How do you do estimating? And any franchise, you're going to pay a royalty. And you're generally looking to say, what am I getting for this royalty? And number one, most people look at is marketing. We do the work, some of the work for CertaPro painters. We know that CertaPro, 71% of their leads come from the digital marketing campaigns. The independents don't have that power. We know with CertaPro, they're the largest buyer of paint from Sherwin-Williams and Benjamin Moore. You can buy it cheaper than anything else. When you start to look at franchising, you're going to get this disclosure document. I'm going to go through it a little bit. But in section 20, you can have the name, address, and phone number of everyone who failed or sold. You can have a summary by state for the last 3 years. How many were open? How many failed? How many sold? You want to see a minimum of 90% success rate. If a franchise can't prove to you have a 90% track record, something's wrong. If you can't handle a 10% chance of failure, you're probably not an entrepreneur. Any business you look at, any franchise, any existing business, there's a chance of failure. You want to measure that. You want to quantify that. You want to look at that. Again, as we said, the service-based businesses are generally $100,000 or less. So you're going to be putting $20,000 to $25,000. You're going to use an SBA loan to finance the balance. And I'm going to talk about financing a little bit later, but you need a good credit score, and the franchise company has to have a good track record. If it's a location-based, which is not generally in the service-based, but if it is, they've been doing this for many years. If we're looking at daycare, they've done the Goddard School in New Jersey for the last 40 years. They know how to find it, how to do the demographic searches. As you start to do your research, you're going to get out and talk to other franchisees. You're going to visit them. You're going to spend time with them, maybe go on some sales calls with them, deal on some customers. You're going to get this disclosure document. Anything important's got to be fully disclosed and sent to you. You want to feel like you're joining a family that's helping you. They're willing to step in when you need help. Some of the big disadvantages, only about 90 industries franchise. There are 3,400 companies, but only 90 industries. Your choices aren't as widespread as people think. It's a very structured system. They want you to spin the wheel faster, not invent the wheel. Here's how we make money. Here's how we want you to do this. If you think you can do it better, or you have some variations you want to do, generally you want to do it yourself. You don't want to buy a franchise. You get frustrated, and so will they get frustrated. Territory in the beginning helps you. It protects you. Other franchisees can't market in your market. But 4 or 5 years out, if you built out the territory and look at it, what you're seeing now is that that territory can become a wall. You can't market in someone else's territory. Can they help you with that? We have people come in and look to buy 2, 3, 4 territories they can build out over the next 5 to 10 years. Royalty payments are based on the gross sales. So you're going to be paying royalty whether you're profitable or not. You need to make that calculation in there, and they will help you with that. The cash flow in the beginning, most of it's going back to receivables, marketing dollars, additional advertising spend. You're not taking a lot out in the first 3 to 6 months, sometimes up to 9 months. Before I get into what is franchising, Nancy, I just want to check and see if we have any questions at all in the chat box or anything like that I can answer.
Jack, we don't have any questions right now.
Okay, well, please feel free to ask any questions. I'm throwing a lot of stuff at you, so please feel free. Franchise is all about distribution. How do we build the brand? How do we dominate the market? How do we get the customers interested in what we're doing? How do you do this fast? Get the market out and running very quickly. Again, the franchise agreement is a license. You're licensed to use their name, their trademark in a certain protected area. You're going to follow their systems, their processes. You're going to pay an initial franchise fee. Out of that 100,000, probably 30 to 40,000 is the franchise fee. Once you're in business, you're going to pay monthly royalties in that 5 to 6% range of your gross sales. Some are flat, but most are a percentage in that 5 to 6% range of your gross sales. Franchising got started back in Germany in about 1800s. They needed to move the beer out of their local towns. They franchised inns and taverns to sell their local brand of beer. In this country, about 1880, Singer Sewing Machine in upstate New York need to move those sewing machines off the docks of New York. They franchised dealers around the country to only sell Singer Sewing Machine Company, Singer Sewing Machines. In the 1910 through 1920, most of the growth in this country was the automobile. All your car dealerships are franchises. It was followed at one time by most of your gasoline stations. Most of your repairs, your Meineke, your Midas, your Amco, all these, your Five Star, all of these were franchises. Your car rental companies, your Hertz, your Budget, your Enterprise were all franchised, and many still are. So the automobile industry grew up very dependent on franchising the sell and service, and franchising grew up very dependent on automobile companies, the manufacturers, a great relationship for many, many years. In the early 1950s, Ray Kroc got involved with McDonald's. And Ray Kroc changed the franchise model more than anyone else ever did. Ray Kroc took this simple hamburger stand in California and decided to franchise it. And he bought the rights to franchise it. And he studied it in great detail. When do you clean a grease trap? Who slices tomatoes? How do you train 50 teenagers? What kind of location do you do? Drive side in the morning or afternoon? Everything was documented, the point of sale systems, everything. And he had people come in and train there. And he became very successful. He didn't want people. What he said is, I don't want industry experience. Prior to Ray Kroc, it was food, hotels, cars, retail, all had to have industry experience. And Ray Kroc was the first one that said, I don't want industry experience. I want you to follow my system. He went after people returning from World War II, the Korean conflict, and corporate. People who were used to following a system, a process. And he found they became his best franchisees. People are good at processes and systems. And he thrived, and he's still the biggest out there today in terms of volume, in terms of sales. Minnie Pearl in the mid-60s was a very famous TV actress. In 1967, she decided to license her name to a group of promoters who were going to build Minnie Pearl's Fried Chicken. And these people went around the country selling Minnie Pearl's Fried Chicken. By 1970, they had sold 1,600 units. At the same time, you had this gentleman named Colonel Sanders driving around the South out of a station wagon selling Kentucky Fried Chicken out of the back, KFC today. So in 1970, this was going to be the battle for chicken. As McDonald's and Burger King fought it out for the burger, the Minnie Pearl's Fried Chicken and the Colonel Sanders Kentucky Fried Chicken would battle out for the chicken. Except the promoters for Minnie Pearl took all the money, collected everything, packed their bags, moved to an island in the South Pacific and never heard or failed. Never heard it again. Never caught, never prosecuted. About 168 of those people tried to open, and every one of them failed. So in 1971, California became the first state to regulate a franchise sale. It was followed by 13 other states in the 1970s. So in 1979, the United States Congress said we can't have 50 different laws. Everything was then placed under the Federal Trade Commission. Today, franchising is a fully regulated industry, regulated by the Federal Trade Commission. And as you begin your research, the company has to prepare a franchise disclosure document, an FDD, every day, every year. They have to prepare this. I'm going to walk you through what's in it. One is, how long has the company been in business? Who is the competition? How'd they get there? Number two are the resumes of the key owners, directors, key employees. Three is anyone in that company, a key employee, director, owner, ever been involved in a personal or a corporate bankruptcy. Number four is the company being involved in any litigation of any type for the last 10 years. Are the franchisees suing the company? Is the company suing franchisees? So 1 through 4 is about the people you're going into business with. That's their background, their track record, etc. 5, 6, and 7, it's all about the money. When I said to you on an earlier slide that senior care is $100,000, most people would ask me right away, well, what's that money for? Who gets that? Well, now it breaks it down in 5 sections, 5, 6, and 7. How much for the franchise fee? How much do I need to marketing to reach break even? What about equipment, software, supplies, training, legal fees, working capital? Everything is detailed out on what you need to reach break even. You again get in section 22, the actual contract, the agreement. And what you want to look on that, what are your obligations towards the franchisor? And what are their obligations towards you? If you get a franchise company that's promising you the moon, is it documented in writing? You want to know how the territory is protected. How big is the territory? What is the geographic location of your territory? As you start to get out there and you're going through this disclosure document, you might have a couple calls to the franchisor. You might start with, what's the function of the owner? What's my day like? Why can I see myself doing this? You might want to talk to the franchise company about the unit economics. What can I make? But eventually, as you're starting to do more and more research and talking to the franchise company, you want to get out there and visit and speak to franchisees. You might want to call 10 and visit a couple. You want to talk to people who left the system. What was the headache? Why'd you leave? Did you just sell it for a good price? Did it go out of business? You're going back and forth talking to the franchisees. In section 19, it's called the earnings claim. What can you put in your pocket? What can you make? And you then want to talk to franchisees. They're saying I can make $200,000 a year, or the average one did $350,000 net income last year. What's your experience? Can you share with me, or you're above or below that? In section 21 are 3 years of audited financial statements on the company. Are they strong enough to be a good partner? Can they help you? If you're going to do multiple units or you want to step back, when can I put a general manager in place? What's their policy on that? Can I renew this contract for as long as I want? What if I don't like it? Can I terminate it? Can I sell it or transfer it to someone else? Can I transfer it to my children or sell it whenever I want? So the disclosure document has all this information in there. And this is given to you early in the process by the franchise company to make sure that you're fully informed on what's going on out there. Any questions before I get into some of the myths? Nancy, any questions for anyone?
Yes, we have a question.
Okay.
Which industries or franchises break even on initial investment quicker than others?
You might find it in particular franchises. We find that the ones who are based out of the home with very few employees and little rent, no cost of goods, where you're providing a service, can generally break even within the first 3 months. As you're finding the customers and servicing the customers, you're keeping most of that money except for the royalty. So you're looking for the home-based ones with the lower investment, where you don't have much in the way of financing, you don't have rent, and the money is staying more in your pocket than going to the landlord or cost of goods or other things like that. But generally, the home-based ones that are the faster, the quicker to profitability.
Great. I have a second question.
Okay.
Do I need a lawyer to look at the franchisor's disclosures?
You don't usually need a lawyer to look at the franchise disclosure, but you do need them to look at the franchise agreement, which is section 22. So before you sign them, which is the franchise agreement, they're going to take and personalize with your corporate name, your territory. And when you have that, that's when you go to the attorney, because that's what's going to bind you. And the disclosure document's more of an education piece they're going to walk you through. When you have the attorney going through the franchise agreement, you may have questions that you saved up from the franchise disclosure document, and you may want them to look at it. But what's the binding document is the franchise agreement in section 22. That's the most important.
Great, Jack. That's all we have right now.
Okay, thank you. Thank you for the questions. Most people think of franchise and they think it's fast food and retail. They see the signs on the road and they think, wow, maybe I should buy something like that. And again, there's 3,400 franchise companies in the United States, about 90 industries, 900,000 units are operating open, but most of the growth, again, has been in service, education, pet care, cleaning, real estate, senior care, IT has been the very big growth right now. People think they succeed because of the quality of the product and or the service. I have people come in and say, I tasted this ice cream or this Mexican food. It's the best I ever had. This is wonderful. I think I want to buy this. I am sure that if all of us got together in person, we could figure out a way to make a hamburger that's better than McDonald's. So you're not generally buying a product. What you're buying is the system, the process. How do they market? How do they drive leads to you? How do you close sales? How do you get to profitable quicker? How do I design my operations? How do I track my accounting, my revenue? Do they use QuickBooks or a version of it? How do I know what I'm making here? How do I make sure I get all my expenses properly recorded? So you're looking at the marketing. How do we drive business? How do we close the sales? Operations, how do we service the client? People think they emerge in new industries with no new competitors. Excuse me. They may think, wow, this is a great business. Look at the line out the door. This new ice cream, this new whatever it is wonderful. I want to go there. Successful franchises generally emerge from well-established industries by creating consolidation. If you were in New Jersey 35 years ago, I'm dating myself, I know. Every small town in North Jersey had their own bakery, sometimes two of them. How many are around it today? Dunkin' Donuts did not make a better donut, but they did market better than anyone. Great Clips 30-some years ago, 35, 40 years ago, was out in Minneapolis. And the owner decided, I can franchise this business. People thought he was nuts, but he did franchise. The town is over 6,000 locations open with a 98% track record. Not doing anything better with a haircut, but how to market, how to get the clients, how to get them to keep coming back every time, not go to the competition. And then with semi-absentee, where the average owner has 6 units up and running, and they're still working in a corporate job. They're not doing it full time. And they got 6,000 up and running. People think it's expensive. Again, service-based businesses, there's 3,400 of them. Approximately 13% are under 50,000. From 50 to 100,000 is 17%. 100 to 250 is 28, and anything over 100 is generally you get into retail, food, automotive, or the big ones, the hotels, the car dealerships, etc. Generally, you're going to need 25% or 30% of that total. So when I come back here and I say it's $100,000, you're going to need 25 to 30% of that. Financing for good franchise companies is relatively easy. Those franchise companies have set up their lenders a long time ago. They have a long-term relationship. They're going to check your credit score, and they're going to make sure you have what the capital is needed, what they need to satisfy the landlord if there is one, and you can get the financing done pretty quickly. Some people just do it all out of their savings. Some go in partnerships. We have a couple partnerships we're working with right now. Again, the banks will go in for the 75 to 80%. If it's a resale or a franchise, sometimes the seller will hold a note for part of it. Some people use their 401k or their IRA. You got to be very careful you use that so it's not a tax issue. And we're not experts on that. There are accounting firms that do this. We'll be glad to refer you to them. But the 401k is you're setting up a C corporation. The C corporation, where you own 100% of the stock, sets up a 401k. So let's say you worked at Merck and your 401k was at Fidelity Investments. Well, your new 401k, your company you own, 401k will also be at Fidelity. You don't sell the investments. You transfer them from the old 401k to the new one. Once they're in the new 401k, you might sell some Merck stock and buy the stock of your company. That's your 20 or 25% capital injection. Then you go to the bank and borrow the balance. So you're only risking a small part of your 401k, and you're keeping your personal savings, your home, untouched that way. And I'm not an expert in this. There are companies that specialize in this. I'll be glad to give you their names, their phone numbers, if you want to contact them at the end. But it's not my expertise, but we're finding financing, even with rising interest rates today, are still doing well. People think a high return requires a high investment. People always say to me, Jack, if I invest a little bit more, how much more can I make? We don't see that in franchising. Two examples. Let's go with McDonald's. $1 million investment. In the 5th year, you're making $300,000. Let's take senior care. Maybe you do 2 territories, 150,000. In the 5th year, the average one is doing 3 million and making their 20%. Well, it's doing about 1.5 million. I'm sorry, making 20% or the 300,000. But you only put in 15% of what you put in for the McDonald's, $1 million. If you want to do a second unit in McDonald's, it's another $1 million to get another 300,000 net, which is a very good return. That's why a lot of people buy them. 30% on your money is excellent. I'm not knocking it. If you want to do senior care, it might be another 50,000. So now you're doing 3 million, making a 600,000, but you've put in 10% of what it costs to do a McDonald's. So most people are focused on the service economy. So there's no correlation between the cost of the investment in the franchise and the return. The service-based ones require far less capital and frequently have much higher yields, better returns, a better return on the investment. Industry experience is required. People say, I don't have the experience. I've never done this before. I've never fixed a car. I've never painted a house. What they're focusing on is a person that can follow their system. They want your management skills. They don't want you doing the cleaning. They don't want you doing the painting. They want you to be able to manage the people who can do that. They want someone, today's labor market, and finding it harder to get help. Franchise companies are focusing more on your management or your communication skills. Can you build this team of 3, 4 people? They're going to train you on everything else. And again, there's 900,000 franchise units open, about 21 million jobs. And in 21, it was about 2.3 trillion in sales, 3,400 companies, and about 90 industries. That's the state of franchising last year. As you start to get into this, you want to think about different things. What we do with people is we work with them and they take an assessment, an online assessment, which we use for 25 years. And we track all the people we've placed, the thousands of people we've placed over the years. What have they been successful at? What have they done well? So we're building this model of what's the ideal business for that person. And they take the assessment, we see how it fits in. We're looking at what are they comfortable investment? How soon they need to see income? How much do they want to make? What do they want to be in 5 years? Have they managed people before? What kind of people, skilled or unskilled? Have they ever made a sales call? Do they had a network, a chamber of commerce room? So we're looking at all these things. What can be taken and applied to these different types of businesses? And then you start to get into the question of risk. If we looked at 2 franchises, and franchise A has been around a long time, has proven, we'll call it safe. And franchise B is newer. It's got great potential. It's taken off. It's a home run, but it's new. It could fail. So do you want to look at an older, well-established one? It's going to be much more structured. You're going to be paying a lot more money. And many times the territory could be sold out. There's very few units available. We look at something newer, the risk is higher. You have a lot more flexibility. They're going to work with you new. They want to build it out. It's going to be a lot less money. You can have as many units as you want. And again, there's no correlation between the investment and the return. So some people are risk takers. They want newer. Others are very safety conscious. They want safer. And some are in between. But as we take our assessment and we work with people, we're trying to figure out, where do you fit on the spectrum? What kind of sales do you have? Well, retail, people coming to you, consumer, where the phone or the emails are coming in, or we want business to business where you're at networking. You're a hunter. And why do people like it? Generally, the systematic approach, they have the experience. They've done this 100, 200, or 500 times. They've broken this business down into pieces, so it's simple to learn and follow. They're going to train you and your staff. They're going to give you ongoing support. The name recognition is out there within the industry. It's known that way. Sales, marketing, they have all this set up for you. You're going to step in and make it run. Again, you're spinning the wheel faster. You're not reinventing the wheel. You want that culture of teamwork. Generally, we encourage people to do before they sign anything is get on a plane and go to their headquarters, spend a couple days meeting with the people. What's their culture like? Do I fit in? What's my role as the owner? What's my job look like? What's my function day to day? So you're always in business for yourself, but not by yourself. It's more of a hybrid between corporate and an entrepreneur. You have the support, the training, you call other franchisees. So you're not by yourself, and people like that support system. So you're starting to think about this and you're laying out the different options. Do I want to become an entrepreneur or stay in my corporate job or find another corporate job? So I want to go corporate or entrepreneur. And you've put out all the things you want to see, the income, the resale value, the quality of life, the hours, all this is listed. And you're saying, here's what I really want to see for myself. Do I want to go corporate or do I want to go entrepreneur? And what you begin to realize, you start to look at different businesses, the business doesn't matter as much as what you want out of the business. Is it giving me what I want? Is this what I want to do? And when people then come down to look at franchises versus starting their own or buying someone else's, is a franchise is a way of reducing risk. They've done it 100 or 200 times before. You could be number 300, but they have that experience that you're learning from. You're buying that learning curve. You're not learning it yourself. And again, make sure the function of the business and what's your role as the owner. If you're buying a great chef will never buy a McDonald's. They can't change the menu. An artist won't buy a CertaPro. They don't want to paint people's houses. But can you manage the people? Can you handle the people? Do you like the operation side of it? That's what you're going to be functioning. They're going to drive the customers to you. Can you close the customers when they come into the store? Probably. They're going to train you on how to do that. What's your function? Can you see yourself doing this every day for the next, 5 days a week for the next 5, 6, 10 years? Again, how long do you want to be there? And how important is the resale value of this business? What's the most important to you? Is it running the business? Maybe it's a child wants to come into, you're creating a legacy. We see that a number of times today. Maybe it's a partnership. You always want to work with this person. What do you want to be in 5, 10, 20 years? What's the resale value? Do you want to hold on to this and make it a legacy for your children? As you start to come into this, you start to think, why now? So some people like the challenge. They want the recognition of being an owner of the business. Prestigious, they want to be active in their community. They want to be known as the owner of this franchise. They want to make sure they can sell it someday. They couldn't sell the job, but they want to make sure they can build equity and sell it someday. Most people want some time for their families, maybe hobbies. Maybe they play golf. Maybe they want to go bike riding. They want their independence back. They want control over their lives. Everybody wants financial security. And it gets into many degrees, many changes here. They want to keep their investment as low as possible. They want the return as high as possible. Something that's easy to finance. They don't want to risk all their money on this. 5 days a week. They want to make sure the demographics are growing in their favor. The franchise company has a history of taking market share away from independents. It's a proven model. They've done this 100, 200 times before. You understand their strategy. You understand their advantages in that strategy. Why this? It's got a long-term prediction. Senior care is going to be around for the next 20 years. Daycare is going to be around. It's not a fad. You want to make sure you can sell this someday. It's got a strong resale value. You really want to make sure this works for you. Again, I haven't stopped for questions. Do we have any questions, Nancy?
We do.
Okay.
One individual says, I don't want to give a personal guarantee on a loan to buy a franchise. How much percentage should I expect to put down from the total investment?
You're going to find it's more by the size of the loan. Generally, if it's the SBA Express under $150,000, you shouldn't need a personal guarantee. If it's over $150,000, the SBA requires a personal guarantee. Doesn't matter what you put down. If you get into straight conventional financing, it's tougher to get. It may or may not, depends on the assets you're pledging for the loan. But if it's under $150,000, generally we don't see that. If it's over $150,000, we see most people have to put that personal guarantee up.
Second question, you mentioned business coaching franchises. Can you give an example of one? Can you indicate how this type of franchise is set up?
Generally, you're looking at what they've done. They might have 250, 300 coaches around the country, franchisees, and they're working with small businesses. It could be you're going through their SWOT analysis, their strengths, weaknesses, threats, opportunities. It could be they're looking at their marketing plans. Maybe they're having trouble with retention. Maybe they're having trouble with receivables. Maybe it's an exit strategy. I want to sell it someday. How do I get it ready? And they have prepared all the materials over the last 20 years on how to handle these. So you're being trained on how to work with that particular problem. Generally, the coaches are getting on calls once a month, sometimes once a week, and they strategize. They bring issues to the others. Maybe it's in New Jersey, maybe it's in their territory or outside your territory. You're working with them on can I help this person, this client? Generally, it's a retainer base. You're charging anywhere from $2,000 to $2,500, $2,000 to $2,500 in a monthly retainer. Some of them have guarantees where if we can't save that client, but we're charging them in the first 90 days, then it's free. We can't charge you for
it. Great, Jack. That's all we have right now.
Okay, thank you. They're going to be talking to you about what your skills are, what can be transferred over. If you're getting into the consumer or business service, some sales, but not a much, but customer service, marketing, depending how big, management might become a part of it. If you're doing a senior care with $3 million in sales and making your 20%, you're going to have probably 60 employees. You're going to have managers. You're going to have a controller helping you to run it. It becomes a sizable business. So that management team you're putting together, marketing, how do we keep on building, driving it? Customer service, you want them talking about you becoming great. You want to use social media to really drive it. If it's a business service, you're going to have to be comfortable in a chamber of commerce, networking, going out and seeing people and how to build it. These are the skills they're looking for that hopefully you have. As you get into your preferences, you're looking again, what do you want? What kind of employees, skilled or unskilled, blue collar, white collar? What's your budget? Is it 50,000 or 100,000? Are you comfortable borrowing on top of that? The environment, home-based, small office, retail. Maybe it's a big mall you like being in. You want that environment. Maybe it's the airport. Full-time or part-time, are we doing this semi-absentee or are we going into this full load? Again, that depends on you. How big do you want to make this? What kind of customers, business owners or the general public? Are you comfortable with the service or you really want a product? How much risk are you willing to take? How big is this? You're going to have a million other items. I'm just giving you some suggestions you should be thinking about. And again, we have the people do the assessment that helps us to answer these questions before we meet with them. People are, how long does this take to make? As people take the assessment, we build and create a business model. What's the ideal business for this person? As we do for the meeting, the first 2-hour meeting, we're going through your likes, dislikes, trying to come up with 4 or 5 suggestions. If you agree that these suggestions are, if they're going to be in different industries, different levels of investment, different returns on it, all different. So we're just trying to see where does it fit for you. You're going to be doing some due diligence. You might talk to their franchise companies. You might talk to some franchisees. You're going to drop some you don't like. As we find that process, we want to know what you didn't like, so we come back with other recommendations. And this process of going back and forth takes 60 to 90 days. After that time, about 70% of the people drop out. It's not for them. They realize, nah, it's not what I want. About 30% will go ahead. In the second stage of due diligence, you're going to put the team together. You get an attorney to review the agreement. You're going to get your bank financing approved. You're going to get your CPA to help you with any kind of tax planning, make sure the financial projections look good. You haven't signed anything yet. So the first one, the business model to yes or no, is about 90 days. The second, from yes to the launch, where you're going to sign the agreement, is generally about 30 days, where you're going to spend money in the second phase. The attorney will be about $1,500. Your accountant will be about $500 to $600. And then you got the bank application. So you might be spending up to $2,500. First phase, you're looking, there's no investment, no cost. You're just deciding whether you want to do it. If you want to get it on a plane and go visit in the second phase, the headquarters of the company, you would have some investment there. This is just kind of the flow. People say, how long does it take? Generally about 120 days. As you begin your research, you're going to talk to the franchise company. We've received the assessment. We put together the disclosure. We put together the business model. You're getting now the franchise disclosure document. As you get that, you get the name and phone numbers of the franchisees. You might call, you might go say, can I stop by and see what you're doing? A lot of people feel they need to go out and meet the company, spend a couple days with them, meet the CEO. What's their vision? Where are they taking this company? It's a fit for me. The closer you get, you're going to get scared. But before you sign anything, you're going to get your professionals lined up. You're going to talk to the attorney, the accountant. You're going to get your bank loaned up. You're probably going to go back and work with SCORE and find out what's your business plan look like? What are the things I'm not thinking about? What else do I be happy with? They're going to help you look at the industry, maybe the competition. So that you're doing all this before you ever sign anything. You're not bound to anything. You can walk away at any point at this point. Once you've got all this out there, you might step back for a week or so and say, do I really fit this business? This is what I want to do. Is it the attributes, the characteristics? Can I hit my goals? Can I follow this system? Am I sure I can afford this? Am I comfortable at risk having my own business? Will I have fun? Will I look forward to going to work each day? Will I feel like I'm never working anymore? I enjoy my business. Can I really grow it? What's their strategic plan? Am I in agreement with it? It's got long-term stability. Can again meet my financial and personal goals? Is my family on board? Is my spouse supportive of this? I don't want to settle for something that does not fit my model. I want to find something that excites me, that I can make some good money with, that I enjoy it, that I want to do this. I want to look forward to going to work each day. We see people by appointment. We ask you to complete the assessment, the profile prior to meeting. It takes about 25 minutes online. We ask that we go through and build a model, a business plan. What's the goals, the objectives? What are you looking to do? We then see what matches out there with either an existing business or a franchise and what works in our portfolio of companies. We have 300 franchise companies, probably have 30 existing businesses listed for sale. Does anything work for you? If you want a copy of the presentation, you can just hold your phone up to this, take a picture of it, or I will send it to SCORE and they will email it to you as well. So whatever works best for you. If you have any questions, here's my phone number, my email. You can connect with me on LinkedIn. Any way you wanted, we can do this. However I can help you, I'll be glad to do that. Again, are there any questions, Nancy, anything I can help for? That's the end of my presentation. I know that we said we want to keep it to about an hour. So I have 5 minutes here for questions and we can stay longer. I can stay on if there's other questions people have. So Nancy, I'll turn it back over to you for any questions people might have.
There are no more questions at this point. We'll just give it a minute and see if anybody puts any last questions in here. Otherwise, it was a great presentation, Jacko. Oh, we have a question. Could you move back to the slide with the code?
Oh, yes. Yep.
So I think that
sorry,
was.
what
That
oh,
was
went the wrong way. Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, one more here.
One more back. Yes, thank you. I know I learned a lot about franchises. Very interesting information and good information for anybody considering franchises in their future. Any last questions from anybody? Otherwise, we will, as Jack mentioned, get the slides out if you haven't taken a picture of the code. And the webinar will be listed on the SCORE website as well. I have one new question.
Okay.
What if you have an idea to starting a new franchise? How do you go about it?
Well, you should have a proven model. The model should be up and running. You're going to need some strong financial statements. You're probably going to have to get them audited. Most of the time, it's got to be audited. You're going to have to work with an attorney to put the regulations together. If you want, it gets into a lot. What I told you, you have to research before you buy. You have to have that information prepared. There are companies that have been very successful in franchising in New Jersey. You know, Jersey Mike's is a good example. We've got 900 units out there. The sub shop down in Point Pleasant, how many years ago? So it can be a very successful business model for someone who wants to franchise. Please give me a call. I can walk you through some of the questions, what you need to do, what you need to have. There are companies out there that specialize in this. We can give you, you can talk to them if you want as well.
Great, thank you. Any other questions? Or one more?
Okay.
What about vending machine franchising?
Generally, the vending machines are not franchises. You're buying the vending machines and they promise the locations for you. When you look at vending machines, you want to know how long is that location guaranteed for? We've had people we didn't work with, we don't work with vending machines, call us in tears and say, I got 20 vending machines in my garage. What do I do with them? You know, what's their if it gets taken out of a place, can you relocate it someplace else? Will they help you do that?
Great, thank you.
But they're generally not a franchise. It's a license agreement to put they put the machine somewhere for you. You just want to hope it stays there for quite a while and it's profitable.
Tony said thank you as well.
Okay.
All right, I think that is it. And we really appreciate your time and information, Jack. We look forward to talking with you again in the future.
Thank you very much, Nancy and Jane. Thank you very much for letting me do this. And any questions, feel free to call me, anybody. Thank you.
Thank you.